All right, YouTube, you guys ready to wrap up this Fluxathon? Special shout out to Dan, special shout out to everybody in the Flux Army, man. You guys show me so much love sharing these videos on Twitter. I feel like every time I make a Flux video, it does 100,000 times better than any other video because I got so many of you guys going out of your way to share that over on Twitter, and you guys have no idea how much value that adds. Anytime that a video is shared in an external source and then that traffic is driven back to YouTube, YouTube gives you basically double brownie points for bringing people to their platform. So it's really critically important, and you guys don't understand how much I appreciate that. So special shout out to Dan, the Flux Army, man. It would be awesome if one of these videos broke 100K, man. That'd be, I think, a record of mine, definitely on a newer video for sure. So maybe we can get those likes up there and get this video trending, guys, because this is gonna be like a, what should we be doing? Because I personally don't know. I know I want to be accumulating Bitcoin, Flux, Cadena, CADX, Bitcoin. I'm very confident should make up 30 to 50% of your portfolio because Bitcoin's going to lead that charge. Bitcoin is going to be the one thing that all these countries and all these sovereign nations start trying to ape into with hundreds and billions of dollars. So if you didn't get my video on crypto breaking news where I recapped 2021 and made some predictions for 2022, check that out. It's a great video. But right now, I'm kind of nervous, like, do I want to be accumulating stablecoins? What stablecoin should I use? So we covered that in our stablecoin video, UST, right? An algorithmic stablecoin that's not connected to any government, that's not pegged to any fiat, that's not backed by any fiat currency, that's not collateralized by any crypto assets. It is an algorithmic stablecoin. Brilliant. Shout out to Luna, shout out to Do Kwon, shout out to the Lunatics. Love you guys. Wish I would have been in the squad a lot sooner, but I'm glad to be here. So that being said, what is the strategy, guys? What is your guys' strategy? Do you think it would be smarter to be accumulating UST because maybe we're gonna see some major volatility in the market? Or do you think it's just like, I'm working right now as much as humanly possible, taking on work, taking on sponsored videos, even sponsored videos like the EURST stablecoin, right? Like, it was hard to make a video on that because I'm just talking about a stablecoin that is backed by fiat currencies. So in my personal opinion, I wouldn't touch any of those stable coins. I think we don't want anything to do with Tether. So yes, it's better than Tether, right? If given the option, EURST over Tether all day long, right? But as far as me thinking that that's gonna be the go-to stablecoin, I don't. Because I think that these governments are gonna be printing fake dollars out of thin air and stuffing them into a US backed, like a USDC stablecoin or a UST stablecoin. Those are the worst things, guys. We really need to get those out of the market. And I strongly advise that you do not use those. But again, I'm not a financial advisor, don't give investing advice. So that being said, drop some comments below, guys. Let us know what your strategy is. Let us know if you guys would like to see Dan back on the show, because I definitely want to get him back on here to do a GitHub deep dive, teaching us how to actually analyze GitHub. What can you learn from it? What can you learn about what a project's actually building on top of whatever they say they're actually building? A lot of great more, so much information, man. Dan could, just share knowledge with us day in, day out. Love you guys. Shout out to Dan. Can't wait to catch you guys in the next video. Special shout out to everybody that shares this video. Got so much love for you guys. Really can't thank you guys enough. And let's dive deep. So let's talk about a little bit of a strategy as far as like what could possibly come, and let's kind of role play a few scenarios, and we'll end it on that. So my current strategy, obviously not financial advice, whatever, you guys know the spiel. So my play right now is 30% Bitcoin, 30% Cadena, 30% Flux, and then 10% 100x moonshots. Now, I haven't been accumulating a ton of stables, but I'm getting more so into the, like, looking at the big picture going, okay, I can earn 10, 15, 20%. I think Anchor Protocol, you can earn guaranteed 20% on your stables right now. So what would you say to people that are new entering the space? Like, if I wanted to come in with, say, like 10 grand, or I wanted to cash out my 401k, which was 100 grand, we can do it on any mathematical level. What would be like some things that you would be looking into, not telling people how to invest, but like, what would you be looking at in this industry? Where would you start for a first time investor? Obviously Bitcoin makes sense, right? Outside of Bitcoin, what would be the first, like I tell people, first thing you should do is listen to the Bitcoin white paper audiobook 5 times, book on tape, right? So you fully understand like actually what a white paper is, what Satoshi Nakamoto was doing, that whole aspect.
Which is also hosted on Flux. If you want to check it out, go to our marketplace. You can listen to the audio version of the Bitcoin white paper. Selfish plug there.
Heck yeah, no, that's great, man. That's a good place, because who knows when that's going to get deplatformed from whatever it's at now. So at least it's on somewhere that it can't get taken down. And then, right. So I say that, and then I say, go take Gary Gensler's, as much as I don't really like that guy, and I think he's not going to regulate things in our favor. MIT course is really educational. Like, you have to understand what blockchain is and how blockchain was created and understand the tech before you start putting any money into the market. Outside of getting a general understanding of what crypto is, what decentralization means, where would be you think, like, obviously Web3 is going to be the future, right? I think Web3 has as much longevity as NFTs, but now I'm kind of looking at NFTs as of like a branch off of Web3, you know? What would you say would be like your key areas for people to educate themselves, or like to build a strategy?
Well, I'll tell you this. I agree with your investment strategy to a certain extent. I think that, making sure that you diversify is overrated sometimes. So, I like the approach where you've picked winners, where you believe they're going to be winners, and you put your time, talent, and resources to help cultivate them to be winners. I personally hold no stable asset, and I'll tell you why. I do believe that the next regulation push, the next challenge is going to come around the stable asset, because I believe the Fed coin is ultimately coming. And I do believe you could see an attack specifically on stable assets and exchanges that issue those stable assets and having them register securities. And I think that a lot of these different platforms will, instead of going that route, they'll just get rid of stable assets and they'll pair it to whatever the Fed coin becomes. I'm very leery about any stable asset. The other thing is, stable assets to me are a lot like Shiba Inu. Ultimately, they've been created to take your Bitcoin, to take your Flux, to take your KDA, whatever it is. People still judge success by being pegged to a fiat amount, but in reality, they're not letting you hold your asset, your Bitcoin. They're deploying it just like that bank that doesn't have cash. They're deploying it in other areas. So, there will be a run on BTC. I can tell you that right now. If you don't hold your crypto, you are a fool. You need to make sure that you put it somewhere safe and sound, because you don't own that crypto that's sitting on that exchange, right?
Yep.
So personally, I take the approach where I'm more long-term. I look at emerging technologies. I look at Web3. So, obviously my time, talent, and resources is put toward Flux. Bitcoin is always a staple of any portfolio, right? And then I think you start to split it up. I hold three major assets, essentially. I hold Bitcoin, I hold Flux, and I hold KDA. Those are my power plays. Those are ones that I believe in the ecosystem. Solana is another one I do hold, right?
Yep.
And then I do have a percentage of my portfolio that is more for growth, right? So, wealth managers would do this for you in the conventional legacy market, but you're becoming your own wealth manager of crypto, because essentially what you got to do is hedge that risk. So, hedging the risk and finding new emerging technologies that are coming out, and not chasing after something that's saying that it's Shiba Inu came out and said, we're going to create a blockchain, but it's going to be, 2 years till we launch it, right?
Out of here.
That is the play. Let's face it, if you wanted to get people's Flux or BTC, you create a shitcoin with a massive amount of supply at a centralized location. You list it at a high valuation. You get your market makers to support it. As people start to shift over from one other asset, so they move from BTC to Shiba Inu or whatever the soup du jour is, they accumulate your BTC, they accumulate your Flux, they accumulate your KDA, and you're now stuck holding a bag of a worthless project.
Yep.
And the market cap is exponential. And that's exactly, and it's not just, it's Doge, it's a lot of these projects that don't have any real development, They want your BTC, they want your Flux, they want your quality projects that bring value to the ecosystem. So it's your job to understand what your risk is and what your reward is. And I always tell people, take profit, right? I'm not, if you know what your profit point is, back out of it. My son came to me, and he's a big holder of Flux too. He got in very early on because I talked him into it and supporting his old man, right? And he said, my portfolio is as high as it's ever been because of Flux, right? Like, what do? I said, well, take a percentage of that, figure out exactly what you're comfortable with, and you take that as profit, and you live with that. You put it back into your bank account, and you live a normal life with that. But you also have lots of exposure to continue growing that position. He chose not to do that. He chose not to sell one Flux. He'll hold it. And I said, have a target in your mind where you start to ratchet out a little bit of profit as you move up. Take that profit to BTC, and then you can also redeploy that capital, as the market fluctuates. So in the end, I say this: don't chase shitcoins. Don't chase green candles.
Yep.
Don't FOMO into these pieces, because I'm telling you, in another year or two, these projects will not exist, and your assets will be gone. How do I know this? Because I watched it unfold multiple times. I watched it unfold in 2017 on a grand scale. So those of us who have not learned from history are doomed to repeat it. So hold on to your assets, be your own custodian, put them in Zelcore, put them in Ledger, or whatever it is that you choose as your storage device, right? And you spend money wisely. You know what I mean? Don't buy $25,000 Rolexes on a credit card, right? Buy $1,000 or $100 or $25 of Flux, right, with your hard-earned money that you've created, and give yourself the opportunity to or buy a rig, or buy a node, or invest in yourself, right? I think that's the big thing that I would say. Web3 is a power play. I think that's a whole new world that's going to be unfold in front of us. Stay in fintech, watch what the big investors are doing as well. I would say projects that, are VC backed, stay away from them, because, ultimately they don't give a shit about retail, and they're going to go right after you. They don't care.
And as soon as they stop pumping that coin, they're moving on to the next and on to the next. And until Cadena is more developed and we have that dominating layer one, that I think you're going to watch a lot of these new projects come and get pumped. I actually pretty confident that there is another Solana that's already getting ready to launch here in the next couple of weeks. That it just reminds me of identical to how I watched Solana launch, and how well the project's put together. And you just see all those partners, right, and those investors and backers, and and they're claiming to be faster than Solana. So it's like shiny object syndrome in the crypto market, right? Like when a new project launches, everybody wants to run and FOMO into it and gas it up. But does it have longevity? I don't know. I just think that some things in this industry are just straight marketing, right? Like it doesn't have to be. There's nothing wrong with that. Like there's nothing wrong with making gains on Solana, but you have to understand what you're getting yourself into, right? Like these.
Well, we'll close on this thought, Ryan, and I appreciate you having me on for the series, and I hope people have learned a lot about Web3 and the history of kind of how things have materialized. And I look forward to continue to keep educating people, because I think education is what helps us succeed. And I will say this: any project that comes out and says they want to be the next X, right? You always have to have a level of caution behind that, right? Because at some point, developing the platforms that have already been instituted and rolled out is more value than creating new platforms, right? Because all we're doing right now is we're dividing the ecosystem up into these different projects. So once we pick a platform or several platforms to develop on, then we work on basically instituting technology on those platforms, and not trying to siphon off the popularity or the marketing and PR or whatever of that project to another project, because gains, right? Because my bag. I think we have a task for the next several years, and that is we need to start educating ourselves and educating other people in the space, so that they invest wisely and they don't fall into the same setup as legacy system has been for years. Educating people about quantitative easing, educating people about the monetary system, and you're educating, like you said, your father, who didn't know that the dollar wasn't backed by anything, right? I would say the majority of Americans don't understand that there is no backing other than the good faith of the government. So taking the time and educating these people in the space, keep doing what you're doing, creating content that addresses these things, right? So people can easily consume these educational pieces. And if we keep doing this and we do it effectively, we are hedging against that black swan event. We are creating an alternative that will help to soften the blow, because there is an option, there is a transitional piece that can happen, and we are also creating disruptive technologies that challenges the standard quo of these legacy-based systems, their business practices, how they interact with people, how they utilize our data. And I think that over the next couple of years, you're going to see a massive change. So I would say everybody should be excited to be here. You're very early on. There's going to be a lot of positives, a lot of negatives, and a lot of work between here and what the finished product is. But in the end, we're all heading for the same direction.
Dude, that's awesome. So with the last thing on that note, how do people protect themselves from a black swan event if they can't use stables? What would be the best play there would that be to just hopefully
be invested in the assets that will appreciate rather than depreciate. So I would say fixed supply economy, looking for projects that have fixed supply. 440 million Flux, that's all they'll ever be. 21 million Bitcoin, that's all they'll ever be. Look for projects that can't be inflationary and print more of their product, because ultimately that's what we have with fiat. And do your research. Understand, what it is today versus what it could be 5 years from now. Research the project. Look at the people that are at the helm of the project. Make sure that they're legitimate. Make sure that they're in it for the right reasons. Ask them what their mission statements are. Ask them what they're looking to accomplish, what problems they solve. Ask them whether or not they have a minimum viable project or if they just have a white paper and a dream, right? These are all things that if we as investors do, you will easily hedge against that black swan event, because you will all of a sudden start to realize the different platforms, the different projects that are going to add value. And when I say add value, right, after the Depression, there were, even the Depression, everybody, lots of people lost their jobs, lots of people were impacted. But there were particular areas that surged, right? Because they were necessities. So work with a project that creates a necessity, right? Look at the projects that add value and think, what would this look like if the dollar failed or the global currency, the financial system failed, right? Does this bring value add to whatever it is that is doing? If you target those areas, I think you can hedge against that black swan event. So don't sell your assets for a fiat currency that's gonna, if I told you a year ago that Flux was gonna go up 8,000%, and it got to 45 cents, and I said to Ryan, Ryan, guaranteed Flux is gonna go up 4,000%, right? Would you sell it for that fiat shitcoin at that particular point in time? No, you'd say, no way, I'm holding on to my asset, right? There is no more Flux. 440 million, that's all you get, right? Yep. There is no more BTC. These are your hedges to protect yourself. That's what I believe.
Dude, that's great, Dan.
Right. Man. So this was great. We kind of delved down a rabbit hole that was a little bit more than Web3, but that was fun. So I enjoyed the entire conversation, and I think that it's great to educate people and share about what not only what disruptive technology is, what Web3 is, what fintech is. I think we were able to cover a lot of those things, and I really am hopeful that somebody out there is listening to this and takes value from it. And I appreciate you for asking to help educate your audience. I would be naive to say that I don't see your numbers and your views, and giving us a vehicle to give education to people that want to participate in this ecosystem, all of this ecosystem is essential. So thank you for having me on, man. And I thank you for the 3-part series, and I look forward to doing something like this in the future if it's popular and people like it.
Let's ask the community to drop a comment down below, guys, if you guys are watching this and you guys think Dan should come back on for another mini series. So appreciate you, Dan. I know you're a busy man, so I won't hold you up, buddy, but thanks so much for this, and can't wait to share it with the world, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Have a great day.